Hey, everybody, welcome to Close Up with Claibs. I'm Mike Claiborne, of course, and we have a special guest today. He is the new voice of the Seattle Kraken of the National Hockey League, an expansion team that's gotten off to a pretty good start. And he is Everett Fitzhugh. And Everett, first of all, it's great to finally see you. I've heard you, talk to you a lot, but we actually have a chance to shoot the breeze here. And I'm so proud of you having a chance to get your dream job, that being in the National Hockey League, and certainly you and I having a chance to get to know each other. So welcome.
Hey, Clams, it's an honor to finally meet you. I know, like you said, we've texted and talked a couple of times. We actually met through our mutual friend, Dave Sims, who is the voice of the Mariners out here. So really nice to finally meet you and get to talk with you today.
So for people who are watching this, they're noticing I said the voice of the Seattle Kraken of the National Hockey League.
Yes.
So you are a first. You are the first African American play-by-play man
Yeah.
in the NHL. We've
Yeah.
had a couple of people who've done color. I've done it a little bit. Bill White,
Yeah.
formerly with the Philadelphia Flyers, had stepped in and done some things way back when. But we just don't run across this opportunity very often. So walk me through your process.
Yeah, it was actually something I tell folks all the time. I don't think Hollywood could have scripted this any better. I got my start back in college, and fast forward, 13 years. I've been doing minor league hockey. I worked for the Junior Hockey League, USHL, and then another team in that league. And Ryan Clark, who is our athletic writer here in Seattle, wrote an article about me right before the pandemic about me being the only Black play-by-play announcer at any level of hockey. So Todd Lewicki, who was the Kraken CEO,
St. Louis guy, by the way.
St. Louis guy, yeah, Todd, he read that article and he reached out to me. He emailed me saying that he came across the article and wanted to talk to me and about the Seattle Kraken. Um, the CEO of an NHL team doesn't email you, right? He himself does not email you. It's usually like an HR person or someone else. I thought it was a spam note. It was just a generic email address. I thought it was
Selling tickets.
yeah, I thought it was the guys in the Cyclones front office in Cincinnati where I was, the ECHL. I thought it was them playing a joke on me, so I actually left the CEO of the Kraken on red for about a day and a half, and then I talked to mom. I called my mom. I talked to my wife and a couple other friends close to me, and I was like, should I even respond to this? And like, hey, what's the worst that could happen? So I responded to the email. Turns out it was actually Todd. We had a wonderful conversation about my career and what I want to do and my goals. And this was right before COVID. So he said, keep doing what you're doing. We'll reach back out in the summertime and we'll go from there. So I said, okay, that sounds great. You're reinvigorated, you're energized. You just had a great meeting with the head of an NHL team. Well, then COVID hit, and the whole world got turned on its ear. I got furloughed in Cincinnati with a lot of the world. So I remember I just got back from grocery shopping. My wife and I were talking about that. She said, have you ever heard from Seattle again? Maybe you should reach out to them. And I said, we're all going through COVID. They're probably not trying to hire a broadcaster right now. They don't even start playing until next year. Sure enough, that day we're coming in the door, and I just happened to check my email, and Todd had emailed me about an hour earlier, and he said, hey, I know the whole world has kind of been turned upside down, but we're still building our staff. We're still building our team and building toward 21-22. And I'm interested to know if you're still interested in a position here. So once I pick my jaw up off the floor, I respond to the email. We have another wonderful conversation. The interview process starts. I go through probably 3 or 4 virtual interviews through Zoom. They flew both of us out there, my wife and I out there. We got to meet with the staff. We got to tour the construction site of the arena. And then they offered me my dream job last July. So my official start date was September 1st. So I've been on the job for about 13 and a half months now.
Well, you're right. You can't make that up. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a great story, and it's a lot of fun. Now, where'd you go to school? Because I think you and Chris Kerber have something in common, don't
Yeah,
you?
we do. I don't know if you can see over my left shoulder, over my right shoulder, but I got a couple of Bowling Green State University logos in here. So I am a proud 2011 graduate of Bowling Green State University.
Well, and I had a good buddy of mine, Ted Sater, who
Yeah.
once coached there,
Yeah.
and Mike Emmerich was there
Yep.
as well. I mean,
Not
it's
friendly.
been a great bastion for hockey.
Steve Mears, the
That's
voice of the
right.
Pittsburgh
Yeah.
Penguins, also
So
there as well.
it's been a great spot. It's kind of like the Syracuse of hockey broadcasters
Yeah.
is concerned. So that's cool. So as you mentioned, you've done every level of hockey
Yeah.
except the National Hockey League.
Yeah.
And for me, when I first took on hockey 40 years ago, at least, uh, and I'm sure the same apply for you, I was the only one that looked like me that was around.
Yeah.
How was that for you, especially as a broadcaster? Because, every now and then you see a player of color on the ice, but seldom did you see one in the press box.
Yeah.
Maybe you saw a writer from time to time, but you
Yep.
never saw a person behind the microphone. So how was that challenge for you?
Fortunately for me, when I got started out in broadcasting in college, I was a color analyst. Long story short, the way that Bowling Green was set up, men's hockey and women's hockey, or men's hockey and women's basketball, were done by the student broadcasting stations.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the flagship stations. So the play-by-play announcer was actually hired through the athletic department, and then the Bowling Green Radio Sports Organization, the student group, provided the color analyst. So I was the color analyst for hockey, and I did a couple of games. I did a lot of games my freshman, sophomore, junior year, and I actually met a guy named Mike Lockhart, who was the broadcaster for Notre Dame at the time. Black guy as well. He'd been at Notre Dame for, I want to say 5 years, 7 years. He actually tragically passed away of a heart attack at a very young age. I believe he was in his late 40s, maybe early 50s. But he passed away, I want to say 2008, maybe 2009. But I got to meet him, and him and I talked all the time. And we actually did some research, and we found out that we were the only two Black broadcasters at any level of hockey full time. So that was actually kind of inspiring. Unfortunately, Mike passed when I was still in college. I took over the Bowling Green play-by-play job my senior year of college. So I ended up being a fifth-year senior. So I was the broadcaster my fourth year in school, my fifth year in school, and then I came back for my first year out of school. So 3 total years as the play-by-play broadcaster for Bowling Green. And you're right, I was the only one. There were a handful of writers that I saw. I didn't see any SIDs. I didn't see any video people. There were a handful of players. Jordan Samuels Thomas played for Bowling Green. Scooter Vaughn played for Michigan. I think there was a couple of others that I may have come across, but Cameron Burt played for RIT, another Detroit native. But there weren't a lot. There weren't a lot of people who looked like me in the industry. And even going into my pro career when I was in junior hockey, working in the USHL, working in Youngstown, and then I go to Cincinnati. I've been the only Black person, definitely in the organization, and especially in the league. There haven't been that many. Now in Cincinnati, I was actually fortunate enough to have a Black assistant coach, Jason Payne, who is
Yes.
now the head coach of
He's the head coach
Cincinnati.
now. Yeah.
Head coach there now. So congrats, Painter. And then I had about 4 Black players come through Cincinnati when I was there. But again, like I said, there wasn't any Black representation in the press box, in the media rooms, outside of a handful of reporters ever since I've been doing this in college.
It's funny. I'm talking to Kevin Weeks last week, and he was going to be in Seattle,
Yeah.
and it's JT Brown, the color analyst for TV,
Yep.
son of Minnesota Viking great Ted Brown, and he played in the league.
Yep.
And is there a writer? The beat writer is also
Ryan Clark. He was the one who wrote the article.
So I was telling Weeksy, I said, you can't swing a dead cat without hitting a brother in Seattle this weekend. I mean, it made my heart feel good that there's so many guys that have gotten into it.
Yeah.
And for me, I have a lot of people to thank for letting me get involved and having me involved in the sport, because I love the
Yeah.
game. Played it a little bit. Well, I played at it
Yeah.
a lot, but played a little bit. But
Yeah.
you know, the bond that I've developed with so many of these guys along the way, because you know they don't care what color you are in a lot of cases. They just you share one thing, the love of the sport,
Yeah.
and that's what's made it so much fun for me. And to see you ascend in this role, it certainly makes my heart feel good, because
You.
being first, they never forget you, and
Thank you.
you're going to set a great example, I know. So I'm anxious to follow your career and out in Seattle,
Thank
which,
you.
bringing up Seattle, you guys have gotten off to a pretty good start for an
Yeah.
expansion team. Tell me about your club and tell me what you like about it so far.
Yeah, it was a slow start. You go 1-3-1 on that
But you
opening.
were in every game, though.
Yeah,
That's the
you were
thing
in
I was
every game.
impressed with.
You were in every game, and outside of that game against Philadelphia, in Philadelphia, the Kraken have been in a position to win every game. This team was won 2 in a row. So if you win 2, you're streaking. So we're going
There you
streaking now.
go.
So we got 3 wins on the year. You're still trying to find your identity. You're still trying to find what you want to play, who you want to be seen as a team. Coming into the year, there were a lot of questions. Where is the goal scoring going to come from? Where is the offense going to come from? The Kraken have 9 goals in their last 2 games, and they're finding offense from all throughout the lineup. A couple of players in Jordan Eberle who finally got off the schneid. He was one player that a lot of folks saw him being the leading scorer. He was going to be Seattle's William Karlsson in Las Vegas, who found that resurgence of his career, became a 40-goal scorer and what have you. Jared McCann averaging a point a game. Brandon Tanev is on a career pace. Hayden Fleury had more goals, had 2 goals last night. He had 3 goals of all of last season. So the offense is really starting to click. The identity is really starting to form with this team. Defensively, I think this is one of the stronger teams in the NHL. From a goaltending perspective, Philip Grubauer really showing why he's the reigning Vezina Trophy finalist, finishing 3rd in voting. So you've got a lot of pieces on this team. They're new. You had the condensed training camp. You had the condensed preseason schedule. We played 6 games in 9 days in
Ooh.
preseason. So you didn't have a whole lot of practice time. So for the Seattle Kraken to get off to the start that they've been off to, a lot of folks are already getting a little wary, a little nervous, but it's patience. It takes time.
Well, they seen it, with Las Vegas when they
Yeah.
walked in the league and they got off to a hot start and found themselves in the finals. And everybody thinks that that's going to be the building block for the future expansion teams. But
Yeah.
I always remind people, patience is not going to come your way overnight. Hey,
Mhm.
let's take a quick break. Everett Fitzhugh is with us. This is Close Up with Claibs.
The 2021 Acura TLX is the top-selling luxury sedan in St. Louis, and St. Louis Acura has an unbeatable selection. The TLX has the highest safety rating, and right now you can get $2,500 in loyalty conquest offers with 0% financing for up to 36 months. We offer free pickup and delivery, and we'll also buy your used vehicle, even if you don't buy from us. St. Louis Acura, committed to becoming better than ever for you.
Welcome back, everyone. Everett Fitzhugh is our guest. He is the radio voice of the Seattle Kraken of the National Hockey League. So, Everett, give me your background. How did you find hockey? Because for me, it was a unique setup where I went to a game and I couldn't take my eyes off the action. And then when I saw you could run into people and do everything else, I was like, man, I think I might want to sign up for this.
I can get
So,
down with this.
So how'd you get involved, and who are some of the people you tried to follow as far as broadcasters are concerned?
Yeah, I got into hockey. I was probably 8 or 9 years old. I was in the 3rd grade. I grew up in Detroit, so we're hockey town.
Mm-hmm.
Right around the time the Red Wings were winning those back-to-back cups, 97, 98, those great rivalries with the Colorado Avalanche and all of that. So that was my first real introduction to the game of hockey. Now, a lot of my classmates love the game of hockey. You know, as a black kid growing up, you're always told, "Oh, hockey's for white boys. Hockey's
Hmm.
for kids." You know, well, you should play basketball or football. Well, mom thought football was too dangerous, and I wasn't nearly athletic enough to play basketball. So, but I was a huge sports fan anyway. But it wasn't until I went and watched a Red Wings game, and they were playing the Edmonton Oilers at the time. George LaRock and Mike Greer were on that team,
That's right. Yeah.
players. So I saw that, and I'm running around the house. Mom, there's two black guys on the Oilers. They're playing hockey. Mom, they're playing hockey. Oh, and it was so cool to see that. A couple of years later, Anson Carter joins the team. So now you got three black guys on the same team in Edmonton over a 5-7 year span, late 90s, early 2000 Edmonton Oilers. You probably had 6 or 7 black players at one time or another on that roster. So for me,
Well,
that was huge to see.
I'll tell you, this was a few years ago, and I remember that team. The St. Louis Blues had what they called diversity night, and they were the first team in the NHL to do it. And Edmonton had LaRock, Mike Greer,
Uh,
Anson Carter. Gosh, who else did they have? They had two
Joaquin
other.
Cage, Sean
Maybe Pokey
Bell.
Reddick was on that team too.
Okay.
I think he was on that team, but they had like 5 guys. And the Blues had Jamal Mayers, they had Bryce Salvador. So it was a total of about 8, maybe 9 players of color. And then they honored players from other countries as well. Grant Fuhr was there, and Mr. O'Ree was there as well.
Wow.
And it was one of the most moving nights of my life as far as being in sports and being involved in this great scene of diversity in a sport that was always said that's a white man's sport.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at all these guys, and I got news for you. Nobody who fought George LaRock was worried about what color he was. Okay, they were trying to dodge left hooks, as far as I'm concerned. But it was such a great night,
Yeah.
and that was I definitely remember that time period when Edmonton was truly loaded with a lot of players of color.
Yeah. And again, that's what got me into hockey. I became an Oilers fan. And then being in Detroit, close to Windsor, the Canadian border, we got CBC.
Mhm.
So I used to watch Hockey Night in Canada every week. That's when I saw Jerome McGinley, Freddie Brathwaite, Kevin Weeks, Jamal Mayers, like you said. So being able to see all of those people of color, all those black faces, and as a child, it is very inspiring to see people who look like you doing something that you want to do. And it let me know that there was a place for me and my voice and my fandom within the game of hockey. So that really set it off in terms of my hockey fandom. As far as getting into broadcasting goes, I fell into hockey broadcasting completely by accident. You're a baseball guy. My best friend in college dragged me off the couch in my dorm room, 2006. Tigers Athletics, ALCS. I'm sitting there watching it. I think it was the ALCS in 06. And he dragged me off the couch, took me to a Bowling Green radio sports organization meeting. And I loved everything I heard. I knew that I always wanted to work in sports, but I never knew what I wanted to do. I honestly thought I was going to be the late great Stuart Scott on the Sports Center desk. I didn't even know that play-by-play was an option. So I fell in love with it. I did some pregame shows, intermission reports, half times, board hopping, things like that. And then I got my first game as a color analyst January of 2007. So we're still in my freshman year at Bowling Green. And I fell in love with it. I loved everything about broadcasting. I loved the culture, the professional nature of hockey and of being at the rink and all of that. I was drawn to it immediately. So I did some more games as a color analyst. I was our university's primary hockey color analyst my junior year of college. I did some high school hockey play-by-play, which served as my demo reel to get the varsity job. And then I got the varsity job, was there for 3 years. Then I went to the USHL league office, was there for a year and a half, went to Youngstown of the USHL, was there for a year, and then went to Cincinnati, where I was there for 5 years. So my career has taken me all over. Did not think that I would get to this point at now 32 years old. It's definitely a dream come true. And it's something that you look back on, and that path was very fun, exciting, a little nerve wracking from time to time, but it's something that the journey is something that I'll never forget.
Well, I know you're a little uncomfortable because you finally had to work outside the Eastern time zone as well. Now going to Seattle, you had that corridor lined up, man.
Oh my goodness! I've spent I'm a Midwestern boy. I love Detroit. I love those Midwestern towns, and I met my wife in Cincinnati, but she's originally from Jersey, so both of us are from the Eastern time zone. And then now we're out here on the Pacific coast. So it's taken a little bit to get used to, that's for sure.
Oh, I'm sure of that. Hey, we talked about broadcasters. One of the great hockey broadcasters is from Detroit, Ken Wilson.
Oh yeah.
And Dan Kelly certainly is on Mount Rushmore.
Yep.
But I'll put Ken Wilson up against anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody I've ever heard. His composure, his style, he was smooth. He never was searching for a word when it came to the broadcast, and just a dynamic guy. And he was one of Detroit's own. So I don't know if you've ever had a chance to hear his work or see him or meet him, but man, what a fun guy he was for the St. Louis Blues.
I haven't had the chance to meet him yet. I've heard the name. I haven't heard any of his work, but I definitely have heard the name, and I know of him. Yes.
Yeah, he was terrific, and it was an unfortunate way that he got out of the game, but in any event, we certainly enjoyed him here in St. Louis. So who are you working with? Who's your color analyst?
So my color analyst here is Dave Tomlinson. He
played for the Blues. He was in Blues organization.
Yeah, played in the NHL, 42 games, played for Montreal or Toronto rather, played for Winnipeg, a little bit in Florida. He played all around the world, IHL, American Hockey League, 10 years over in Germany, won 4 championships in the DEL, which is the top professional league over in Germany. And then he got into broadcasting. He's worked a little bit in movies as well. So he's kind of done it all. He was with Vancouver, the Canucks organization, as their color analyst for about 6 years. And then that whole thing with TSN, happened a few years back. So he was an unfortunate casualty of that. But now he's been able to find a home here in Seattle. And we've worked now together for 3 games. And it's been great. He not only is he a good broadcaster, not only is he a knowledgeable hockey person, he's just a genuinely good human being, and he's fun to work with.
Well, he played on a minor league team, one of the best minor league teams I've ever seen, that had Kelly Chase and Tony Twist, Michel Monjou. They were loaded. I mean, they won the championship, won the Turner Cup. But I believe he was on that team. Dave Lowry was on that team. A lot of guys who had cups of coffee in the National Hockey League. But you might want to ask him about that team, because that was a really good team. Peoria. They were up in Peoria at the time. Okay. All right. So let me ask you about the game. It's early, but you've been following this game for a while. Give me your thoughts on what you see in the National Hockey League compared to when you first started following hockey. A little bit of a different game as far as a physical play is concerned. But give me your thoughts on the game and how you see it today.
Yeah, I mean, when I was coming up, it was the grind line in Detroit. It was Darren McCarty and Joe Kosar and Kurt Maltby and Chris Draper. It was those hard-nosed players, the Bob Proberts of the world and all of that. And now, I mean, you don't have to go far. McDavid, Crosby, Draisaitl, Ovechkin, Kachuk, it's a very skilled game. The goalies' equipment's gotten a lot smaller. Remember J.S. Jaguar back in the
early
2000s?
He looked like 2 people in his uniform.
Yeah, those massive. I used to have so kind of like this. You can kind of see I'm still 13 years old apparently. I used to cut out pictures of athletes from Sports Illustrated magazines, and I would put them up all over my wall. And I had a goalie wall in my room, and I had a whole like J.S. Jaguar corner because I loved how he looked in his pads, and just he's the quintessential butterfly goalie, but his pads were massive. But it's gotten more offensive, it's gotten more skilled, it's gotten more exciting. The NHL is trying to increase their scoring, and that's something that you didn't see 20 years ago. When you're in your late 90s and early 2000s, you didn't see a lot of that. But now the NHL trying to become more offensive. And also, too, I think something that really slides under the radar is we've seen hockey grow in non-traditional hockey markets. And I put that in parentheses because I hate that term. The LA Kings have been there for 40 years. They've won a couple of
55 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
My 55 years.
54, 55. They came in 67. So I'm not good at math, but somewhere around 54 years.
And people still consider Los Angeles a non-traditional hockey market. So I don't get it. But the fact that we've seen NHL teams pop up in Nashville and Vegas and Florida and Arizona, I think that's awesome. I think that's great for the sport. You're getting new people. You're getting more different audiences, different voices, races, cultures, genders into the game of hockey. And I think it's really cool to see hockey as a sport become more inclusive in that regard.
I had this conversation with somebody who used that term non-traditional markets. And I said, the Kings, the Panthers, the Kings and the Lightning have won more cups than the Leafs. They've been to the finals more times than the Leafs have since they've been in the league. Yeah. So there's no such thing as non-traditional anymore, because this is the one sport, in my opinion. And then I put the NBA because the NBA is truly global now. Mm. But the NHL has found markets that people never, ever fathom going to. Texas was another one, and what Dallas was able to do. And I just think it continues to grow. I think they've been smart about their locations and their venues. And the question is next, where do they go from here? And I'm just not sure what other city can house a legitimate NHL team. Speaking of housing, tell me about your building, because I've heard some phenomenal things about this building that they've erected out in Seattle.
It's gorgeous. And anybody who's ever been to Seattle, and maybe you've gone to the old Key Arena to see a Sonics game or to see a concert, they kept the roof, the roof that resembles a Native American Salish rain hat. They kept the roof as a historical landmark. So they put this roof up on temporary stilts. They gutted the entire building. They dug down about 90 feet below ground, and we've built the most beautiful, sustainable arena in the world. As far as sustainability goes, we're eliminating single-use plastics. We are collecting rainwater from the roof, and it goes into these massive cisterns, and that is what we use to resurface the ice. There's no natural gas in the building. There are massive solar panels on the roof to bring in solar energy. Your game ticket doubles as a transit pass, so you don't have to drive to the games. You can just scan your ticket on the bus or the monorail or the light rail, and you can get downtown and go to game on game days. As far as an entertainment perspective goes, so many people talk about this building being the home of the Kraken and of the Seattle Storm, the championship WNBA team. But music, live entertainment, it really is going to benefit from this building. I did have an opportunity to go to the Foo Fighters or the Coldplay concerts earlier last week, 2 weeks ago. But from what I heard, it was remarkable. That building is made for the sound. It is made for concerts. So it is going to be the most beautiful, the most luxurious, the most sustainable building, and the most enjoyable building to watch a game in, to watch an event. The seats, the pitch of the seats, you're right on top of the action. So you cannot go wrong anywhere in that building.
Well, there's one question though.
Yeah.
What's the broadcast booth setup
Oh,
like? You got to have comfort there, man, because you know as you go on the road, you're going to see the visitors booth.
yeah.
Well, it's not even a booth. They can be very minuscule. So
Yeah.
tell me about your booth. You have enough space where you can do this and do that and do jumping jacks or whatever else you want to do.
I can have a house party in my press box.
That's what I'm talking
In
about.
my personal booth, in the radio booth, we can have a house party in there. It's a great view. I'm just inside the blue line of our zone, but when you're that high up, you can see everything, and you're right over the ice. It's not like Calgary where you're literally right over the ice.
Yeah, yeah.
You're right on top of everything, and it is. You know, there have been a few teams have come in already, and they've already said this is the best view in the league from a visiting broadcaster's perspective. So we're very, very lucky to have
Every day.
Let's take another break. We'll come back and wrap it up with Everett Fitzhugh after we take this time out.
Every day, Ameren, Illinois works to deliver reliable energy throughout the state to on-the-go families, in-the-know grandparents, and busy students. But did you know we also have ways to manage your energy? Paperless billing, outage notifications, pick a due date, auto pay, and so much more. So no matter who you are or how you use your energy, there's an option that's right for you. Learn more at amerenillinois.com/options.
Talking with Everett Fitzhugh, the voice of the Seattle Kraken of the National Hockey League, and we've covered a lot of bases here. For you, obviously being the first, and we talked about that a little bit earlier, is significant. What advice and what do you pass on to young people at this point as far as your career and how you've gotten started? And we've heard your story, but what are some of the things you think are important for that next Everett Fitzhugh?
I think for me the biggest thing is to let that next generation know that you belong here. There is a place for you here in this space, in this game of hockey. I didn't have a lot of those positive Black influences within the game of hockey to look up to when I was growing up. And that's why I embrace the Edmonton Oilers. That's why, whenever I saw Jerome McGinley playing or Kevin Weeks playing or any number of guys playing, I rooted for them. I rooted for their teams because they let me know that there's a place for me in this game. And so many people have asked me that question, what's it like to be the first? How do you feel being the first? And I always say, I don't think that anybody truly sets out to be the first, but I do think that if you find yourself in a position that you are the first in something, you can be a trailblazer, if you will. You owe it to not only that person, not only to the culture, the sport, the community, you owe it to yourself to take that responsibility head on because, it takes a village. And I firmly and truly believe in that. And I am a person who loves the game of hockey. I love the industry that I work in, but I also am not naive enough to say that we don't have any flaws. And a lot of those flaws come in the form of trying to change the culture of the game of hockey in a number of ways. And if I can be a part of changing the culture so that more young Black boys and girls and just any historically underrepresented community and population knows that they belong in this game and there is a place for them and their voice and their fandom in our space, that's what's important to me.
You know what? You just use a great term, underserved communities, or because you and I are both people that are Black, but you know what? I'm more of an inclusive guy where I just love for people from whatever nationality, whatever they look like, to get involved. And I think that, as I said, because we're Black, that doesn't mean we're trying to cut it off there. I want to see everybody grow into this thing and have fun because, it's an incredible sport. It's a sport of great passion, great challenge, and certainly skill. And for more people to explore it and enjoy it, no matter what neighborhood or what zip code they come from, I don't really care. I just want them to have fun with it like I have, like you're having at this point, and hopefully a lot of people down the road.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I wish I would have played hockey when I was a kid, but like I said, Mama said it was a bit too dangerous. And you're not going to argue with Mama. So
No,
I
no,
get
no, no, no,
no,
no,
no, no.
no, no.
I actually played baseball my whole life. I was a baseball player growing up. So, but yeah, you're bang on. You're absolutely right. I want as many people as possible to play this game. Hockey is the most exciting game on the face of the planet. I think I'm a little biased. I know, but I love it. I love the lessons that it teaches you. I love the culture, that surrounds this game for the most part. Like I said, there are still some things we can change, but I just love this game, and to a person, everybody that I've talked to that has gone to one hockey game or that is taken in a game or has gotten on skates, they've always said, "Man, I did not expect to have this much fun." I've heard so many people at Kraken games these first few games say, "I have no idea what the hell's going on, but this is the most fun I've had in a long time." Man, I love hockey.
Once you have to try to explain the rules to
Yeah.
them, and that's always a challenge, man. Where you just
Absolutely.
what's he blowing that way? Don't worry about it, man.
Don't worry
I'll tell
about
you
it.
later. Yeah, exactly.
You'll get it.
Exactly. You'll
It'll
figure it
come.
out. All right.
So, yeah.
Final question for you, because I've used your nickname, and I know that out in Seattle, people are familiar with the term Kraken.
Yeah.
For our friends around the world who now follow the Seattle Kraken, tell us what that is.
So the Kraken is a mythical Nordic beast. It's a sea beast that lives in the waters, and essentially it's a take on a giant mythical squid or mythical octopus. But the Kraken, you never fully see the Kraken. You may see a tentacle or two, and the legend is, if you actually see the Kraken, then it's too late. You're
It's
already
over. Yeah,
it's
it's
over.
over.
So you don't want to see the Kraken. So a lot of people are saying, "Well, what's the mascot going to be? Why are you only showing a tentacle or two?" And it's like, because if you see the full Kraken, it's over. So we use the Kraken here. There is a large Nordic and Scandinavian heritage here and presence, history here in the Pacific Northwest, mainly in Seattle. A lot of people who can trace their lineage back to Norway and Sweden and Finland and places like that, Denmark. So to be able to use that and encompass and pay tribute to such a rich culture and history here in the region is a large part of why the organization chose the name Kraken.
Well, the only people who are supposed to see the whole Kraken is the opposition, because they're done. That's how you have to approach
it.
That's how it's got to work. Everett, this has been a blast, man.
Yes,
I cannot thank you enough for spending some time with me. And we'll do this again. We'll stay in touch. We got some other people who are going to get involved.
Yeah.
But, man, for you, enjoy this run. Have a great time with it. And I'll see you in January, if not sooner. I got a buddy of mine. We were talking about this last night, thinking about coming to Seattle. But, when you go to Seattle, Seattle's not close to anything. All right. It's 2.5 hours from anywhere minimum. Yeah. We're going to figure this out, because I want to see this building I've heard so many great things about. But, man, have fun with this. Thank you for your time, and best of luck to you and your hockey club this year until you play the St. Louis Blues, and then we'll let the best team win.
Well, thank you very much, Clay. This has been a lot of fun. Again, it's been an honor to talk to you and finally meet you. I've been a fan of yours. I love what you do, and you've served as an inspiration for me as well. So thank you very much.
Well, now I guess I got to buy dinner now. He's Everett Fitzhugh. I'm Mike Claiborne. This is Close Up with Claves here on ClavesOnline.com. And before we go,
the only thing faster than this supersonic golf cart are the closing times at thehomeloanexpert.com. Mortgage rates on the twos, and we have a 21-day closing guarantee. Apply online today at thehomeloanexpert.com.